About 6 months ago, I got an email from Father Carl, and in it he said, "Dear Marty, I would like to ask you to come and to preach at the shrine on Monday, April the 7th, 2014. Your subject will be the Pieta." And my thought was, Carl thinks I'm an art critic? Well, I've seen the Pieta twice in my life. I saw it back in the 60s when it was at the World's Fair in the Vatican Pavilion in Flushing, New York. And I saw it again in the early 90s when I was on a Vincentian tour and was in Rome. And so I saw it at St. Peter's. But I don't think that makes me an expert on the Pieta. So I did what everybody does now. I Googled it. And came to find out some rather interesting things about Pieta and Michelangelo's Pieta. The notion of Pieta, especially in the art world of that time, was about a presentation on the lamentation over the death of Jesus, particularly by his mother. Michelangelo's is not the only Pieta that has Mary holding the dead body of her son. There are many other representations. Indeed, later in his life, Michelangelo did a second Pieta, but in that one, Mary is not holding the dead body of Jesus, but rather it is Joseph of Arimathea. But this theme of lamentation over the death of Christ was one that artists throughout Germany and the north of Italy into France was one that they wanted to bring into their artwork. Michelangelo did the same, but he did it differently. Where other representations of the Pieta, with Mary holding the dead body of her son Jesus, depicted Mary as she probably would have been at the time of his death, a woman of about 50 years of age, more or less. Michelangelo's image of Mary is that of a young woman, a virgin. He sought to bring that image into his work. Other images would depict the dead body of Jesus as it probably was, beaten and scarred and torn apart by all that he had gone through. Michelangelo's image of the dead Jesus really only has the image of small nail wounds in his hands and feet. He did not wish to convey the Pieta as something that spoke about death and torture. And there's nothing wrong with that, because indeed the death of Jesus was a very harrowing affair. But in artwork, one chooses how one wishes to represent it. To take something of a modern presentation of the death of Jesus, think about any of you who may have seen Mel Gibson's movie, to what they did to Jesus in that, to how Jesus looked at the end of that, tortured and beaten as he was. Mel Gibson wanted to convey that. Michelangelo wanted to convey a sense of the serene acceptance of the Son for the will of his Father. That Jesus, and through Jesus, we come to a sense of sanctification, of being made holy by what he chose to accept. The image of Mary, the young virgin holding her dead 33-year-old son, is also interesting in this aspect, that those who critique art would see this, and those who were able to get into the mind of Michelangelo would also understand this. In the image that is conveyed in his statue, Mary cradles her dead son only with her right arm supporting him. Her left hand is free, reaching out. Reaching out, they say, in invitation. You might say in the moment of that scene, to those around the cross with her, the other women, John, and inviting them to come and to be with her in that moment. Today, it is that hand of Mary reaching out from Michelangelo's Pieta, which is what I invite you to come and to be part of. This is the Monday before Holy Week. We start with Palm Sunday and then all of those events next week. And what Mary says to you this week is, come and be with me and be with my son next week as we remember and celebrate those great events that lead to our sanctification and our salvation. Mary invites us to be with her and with her son.